Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of September 13th, 2015. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. This is the big week. It's a big, bold, beautiful week, and several rare celestial events are happening simultaneously, making it that much more special. And what I really love about the energies playing out here now is that there is that promise of big change. There is that promise of a leap forward, but also taking responsibility for that change and making the most of it, and also checking your own expectations and trusting the process. So it is a brand new beginning, but it's the beginning on a road, knowing that sometimes the best things reveal themselves slowly but surely, and then there are times when everything changes in just an instant, and you understand how that process is actually working to your advantage. So let's break it down one at a time. First and foremost, the eclipse. The eclipse in Virgo is taking place this week, right off the top of the week. We've been feeling this energy building last week, and so as we start this week, the eclipse happens. I am really looking forward to this eclipse. This eclipse is speaking positively with Pluto, and it represents that fresh perspective, that fresh start, and that opportunity that seems to come out of nowhere and asks us to make a change. And we can see how if we do that, we will be led on a path towards greater power, greater wealth, greater self-respect, and really getting in touch with what it is that really matters. Now, sometimes it isn't all very conscious, right? It isn't like, oh yeah, if I go here, I could make more money, or if I do this, then I'll like myself more. But it's more that our circumstances make it clear, make it obvious as to what it is that needs to happen now if we are truly going to follow a higher vision for our life, a higher plan and a more loving plan than anything we could have imagined for ourselves. Eclipses, essentially what they do is they put us back into alignment with that soul intention that we all have. And I believe it's sort of the drive of humanity, if you will. It is the motivation of our existence to more and more fully embody love and wisdom. That is what we're here to do. That is my humble opinion. And, you know, as I like to say, I stand on some incredibly tall shoulders with a lot of humility. And what I say really has been said around the world by every culture and by many, many thinkers and people who had that appreciation that life is more than the mundane. Life is more than just what we are sensing with our five senses. And when we have eclipses, what eclipses are about is about putting us into alignment with that higher path towards greater love and greater wisdom. The further off that path we have become in any area of life or in a given area of life is the more dramatically we will be brought back. But where it is that we actually have been walking in consciousness, striving to be true to ourselves, striving to understand a higher purpose of our lives and live true to that, this can be a time of some wonderful breakthroughs that while there is still that surprising element, it can feel very natural at the same time. So that's the eclipse, and I focused on this really for the monthly horoscopes for just about every sign. I think I did for every sign because of the importance of this particular event. So I do hope all of you out there in some way find yourselves on a path that you understand and you recognize as quickly as possible as actually leading you all and leading us all towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. What we also have happening this week is Jupiter standing across the sky from Neptune. This is very significant. Now, this is pretty rare. This happens once every 13 years or so when these planets stand across from each other. Sometimes they do so sort of in a group of three, if you will, right? So they'll do so over a period of time, over a period of several months, having this type of conversation 3 times. That's not what we have this year. This year, we're only going to get that one conversation, and these planets will not speak again for well into the next decade. So for a very long time to come, we're not going to see these planets speak in this way. What is also happening this week is that Jupiter will stand across the sky from Neptune. Now, this conversation happens once every 13 years or so. And when it happens, it does represent a time when we are being asked to really be honest with ourselves, to check ourselves, if you will. Both of these planets have to do with optimism, with hope, with faith as well. The Neptunian energy is a little bit more aspirational, if you will. It's a little bit more having to do with spirit and energy and the undefinable. And Jupiter has more to do with what's growing in our lives and what we want to grow more of in our lives as well. This type of conversation that they're having is what astrologers call a square. Now, sometimes when these two planets have this type of conversation, it happens once and that's it. Sometimes it happens over a period of months with 3 exact moments. So that's not what we have here. This time, it's just that one conversation that's taking place, and the next conversation won't happen until well into the next decade. And when these two planets are meeting in this way, it tends to suggest a time when we have to acknowledge disappointment, but also acknowledge where the disappointments that we've experienced have been wise. And to actually accept that, to honor and acknowledge that we didn't always know what was best, and we don't always know what's best. And that as much as we go after what we want, we think that this is the greatest, most highest, most amazing thing that we could possibly achieve, sometimes, as part of the bigger picture of our lives, that vision is very small. It's very small thinking compared to what that higher vision for our life and what it is that we actually could experience can be. So this is that moment to actually check yourself. If you are, in all honesty, and you know I'm always going to be honest with you, there are a couple of ways that this can play out. One way that this can play out is, oh yeah, I see how I'm actually a lot better off. Thank you, universe, and trusting that. Another way that this can play out, if you will, is in acknowledging disappointment and maybe even mourning and accepting that some things didn't work out that maybe you have really wanted or maybe you really wanted in the past, acknowledging who you were, acknowledging where you are now. For some people, this is going to be feeling like what you want is far, feeling like what you want is not attainable by you. But of course, you know, one thing I love about being a human being is that we have our free will. We have that ability to direct our energy towards our aims and to manifest wonderful things. But it really is sort of that realization that, you know, hey, maybe this isn't the best path for me. Maybe the universe has a bigger plan and you may not even know. It might even not even be a clue for you right now. But just being aware that, hey, there's another path here revealing itself and allowing yourself to accept that maybe the path that you've been on hasn't been the one that you were truly meant to be on or that you're not meant to be on anymore. The other thing, though, I will say with this particular energy is that, and I'm going to amplify this, if you will, I think that this is further supported by the fact that the next really big news, Saturn will move into the sign of Sagittarius. So as this conversation is taking place, Saturn will change signs. I'll talk about that in a moment. But these two things happening simultaneously, plus the eclipse, does suggest to me that there might be, for some of us, there might be a moment where we realize, where we have an interaction with somebody and they sort of tell us that, you know, I'm thinking about, in all honesty, I'm thinking about, you know, like those people who go on American Idol and they were in front of Simon Cowell and Simon Cowell's like, no, don't do this. You are not meant to do this. And how heartbreaking it was for them, right? You wanted to just reach out into the screen and hug them sometimes. So I actually see this as possibly playing out that way, where something, if you're on a path of something that you really want, maybe you have a lot invested in it in some way, and to have somebody say to you, to have some gatekeeper say to you, no, this is not what you're meant to do. And, you know, what you make of the message is completely up to you. Right? Because we have had examples of people who got really bad feedback from Simon Cowell, who went on to do some amazing things in show business and otherwise. So it is really about what you do with the information that comes about. This is Jupiter and Neptune speaking. So nothing is really formed yet. It's all about the ideas and the possibility and the hope. It is Saturn that helps to ground. And the fact that Saturn is at the very beginning of a sign suggests to me that while we get a little bit of a reality check, and we might not particularly like the reality check that we get, we are going to find our way forward. We are going to have that understanding. Okay, am I going to start on a different path? Or am I going to commit to this path and prove that person wrong? So a lot depends. Some of it depends on what else is happening in your chart. I think a lot of it also depends on your unique circumstances and what resonates as right with you, what resonates as true with you. So you will know. Your intuition, your instincts, your circumstances will make very clear if you happen to find yourself in an exchange where someone is being not supportive in something that you would like them to be supportive in. This is going to be your opportunity to say, you know what? I know how to move forward from here. To utilize that information to either motivate you to work even harder or to help you to be even clear about ultimately what is it that's actually going to feel right for you and the future that you are trying to create. The signs will be there and they will be quite clear. And it's actually a pretty good time to be doing this reconsideration for a few reasons. So one is, as I said, Saturn moving back, right? It's actually moving forward, but returning to the sign of Sagittarius. So it's going to be, Saturn will be in the sign of Sagittarius for the better part of the next 2.5, a little less than 2.5 years going forward from here. We'll leave the sign of Sagittarius as 2017 ends, 2018 begins. So this is where really, if you think about all the themes I talked about in the Saturn special, I would invite you to watch that again, the Saturn special for your sign that had to do with Saturn being in the sign of Sagittarius. This is where a lot of clarity and a deeper understanding is going to start to take root as to how it is that Saturn is going to try to help you now in whatever new area of life he has now stepped into. So Saturn stepping into this new sign is going to allow us, we had a glimpse of this energy early this year for the first half of the year. And now as Saturn re-enters, it's going to be about understanding what work needs to be done and where, if we are going to garner tangible rewards, if we're going to manifest something that we can really feel proud of. Also this week, finally, Mercury retrograde. Yes, you knew it was coming, right? So you want to pay attention to what's taking place this week. In some way, we will be returning to the themes. You will resolve the themes that arise now in the second part of October. And of course, I'll be here to talk about it then. But pay attention to your life, because what comes up now will actually be matters of reconsideration. And we'll slowly be going forward with having to look at where things need to be redone. Really, Mercury retrograde is having to anything, redo, re-edit, redecorate, whatever the case may be. Not a great time to start brand new, fresh things, but a good time to go back and reconsider and redo things, making sure that they are put into place well. I'll give you a little bit of an example. My brother actually is getting married, and he's getting married to the same person for the second time. And he actually had his first wedding in May. And he had his first wedding in May. They had the wedding they wanted to have, which was an Alice Cooper wedding in Las Vegas. Yes, this is my family. And it was wonderful. I was there. It was fabulous. And so now what's happening during this Mercury retrograde is that they are actually returning to this idea of having to get married and having a more traditional wedding that my mom is planning and is very, very happy to be doing so. So that's what I mean. Like, just because you're returning to something doesn't have to make it bad, doesn't have to make it something to dread, as I have spoken about before in a few videos that I've done talking about Mercury retrograde. So again, you can watch those to get more information on that. But this particular Mercury retrograde, I think there's a lot of promise here to get that personal clarity, right? And as I said, Saturn returning to the sign that it was in, that we got a little peek of before, is now returning for a nice day, and Mercury retrograding at the same time suggests to me that we will be dealing with some similar themes arising again, and we'll come to understand slowly but surely in the coming weeks that these lessons are valuable ones, and that really there was always a chance to start fresh, to do it again, and to decide on a path that works for you, and to decide whether you're going to keep going the way that you have, or whether you are going to now embrace what it is that is showing up for you, what it is that is promising you, the kind of renewal that we've been waiting for, that we've been looking for, and allowing ourselves to trust those omens as they present themselves to us. Well, thank you so much for watching the introduction. I'm truly so grateful for it. You may have noticed I am wearing a t-shirt honoring Mexico. Now, normally Mexican colors are green, red, and white. But I record this, my studio is on a green screen, so that would have been washed out. So that's why you don't see any green on me. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and honor and give my love and respect for Mexican Independence Day, which is taking place this week. For those of you who've been watching me for a while, over a period of years, I appreciate it so much. But you have known, and I actually think that a lot of you have noticed, because I've been getting messages about this. I started getting messages about this like way back, like 3.5 years ago. But it was at the end of December of 2012 that I came here to Mexico for the first time to celebrate the end of the Mayan calendar. And as the Mayans prophesized, it would be the beginning of a new age. And it would be a new age for us individually and as a collective as well. And so a lot of 2013, some of the dominant energy in 2013 was more about acknowledging, okay, what has ended, because you really have to embrace this new beginning. And it was in 2014 that a lot of us really gathered the momentum, if you will, started to really listen to life. And what I have noticed is more and more people rising in awareness of unity consciousness, which is what they prophesized. But again, they did say that all of us in our own unique journey would be beginning again. And the Mayan calendar is a zodiac. And so I came here to, as an astrologer, of course, to record lots of footage, make episodes, to learn more about Mayan astrology, and to just be part of the party, you know, to just be part of the celebration. And what happened for me was very significant. What happened for me was I experienced an incredible shift of energy, of spirit. Really, it was a spiritual shift that took place for me, an awakening that took place for me, and simultaneously a real feeling of home that I had just never known before. I know I don't like to get political about stuff, you know that. I try to stay out of that. I tried to read the omens from a more detached place. But I know right now sometimes I see things about that talk about Mexicans and what Mexico is like, and the reality is so incredibly different. My reality here has been that I have come to understand the spiritual significance of my work and my life completely differently than I knew it before. And I think it shows in the work. In fact, it really was after I came here that my work just started really taking off in a whole other direction, started reaching a lot more people, and a lot more expansive opportunities started to show up for me. And so I think it was because I started to change inside. I started to learn something about myself, about love. I've learned so much about love here, especially a love for my friends and fans, a love for what I do, the value of what I do. And it has taught me so much about, and being here for the better part of the last 3 years, really, it's become a second home to me. And I have learned so much about how blessed so many of us are, and we don't even realize it. You know, self-actualization is a privilege, and it is a privilege. I don't want to get too emotional here, but I really came to understand by living here and by experiencing so much love from so many people, seeing amazing families, seeing people who work hard, who care, who are nice, who are loving in each moment, who are gentle and sensitive and intuitive. I really came to a deepening appreciation that so much of what I have is not out of any virtue. I told you, I didn't want to get emotional. I'm so sorry. But it has really taught me that so much of what I have done in my life, so much of what I have, is not because I'm special. It's not out of any virtue. It's really because of the opportunities I was granted, simply because I was born in Canada, simply because I have that Canadian passport. And also just to acknowledge that there were so many sacrifices that were made for me. People I will never know. So I just wanted to say and send a lot of gratitude to this land. And I wanted to acknowledge it, and I wanted to acknowledge it to all of you as well, because a lot of what we're hearing right now, a lot of the rhetoric and stuff that I'm seeing showing up in the media, it is so far from the reality. And this is a very special place, a truly special place. And recently a fan actually contacted me. I saw online that she was coming to Cancun, and I actually reached out to her and I said, hey, let me pick you up at the airport. Let me show you a little something about Cancun. And she was really amazed that I did this, but I feel that this is one way that I give back to this amazing place that I'm blessed enough to be a part of. So happy Independence Day, Mexico. And thank you so much, all of you out there, for indulging me there for a moment and just trying to give a little bit of gratitude and give a little bit of love back to a land that has blessed me in so many ways. I love interacting with you guys. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiashah.com, and of course, the YouTube comments as well. I always try to acknowledge our interactions, give you a thumbs up. If I can't reply properly right away, I do try to come back and make sure that I answer your questions where possible as well. Sometimes your questions are a little bit more personal, having to do with your unique situation. If that's the case, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that, create a custom video that is specifically just for you based on your unique birth chart. So the personalized horoscopes now have 3 new areas of focus. There is love and luck. There is success, money, success and luck, and life purpose focus as well. And you guys are really loving them, and I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback on them. So thank you so much for that. And the ideas from that really came from friends and fans like yourself. You guys send me so many ideas. You make me brave. You make me think of new ways and present me with new ideas of how to share and how to live my mission. My purpose really in this world is to affirm that the universe is wise and loving. And that really is at the core of every single thing that I share with you guys. And so thank you. Just you being here, you watching this, you being present with me, sharing a small part of your sacred journey with me allows me to live my mission in this world. And I'm truly very so grateful for that. So how all this wonderful astrological stuff, speaks to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week we've got Jupiter standing across from Neptune. I gotta say, I'm also looking at the fact that we've got an eclipse happening in the same sign that Jupiter is currently in. This to me, and Mercury retrograde and Saturn changing signs, all of this looks to me like, I'm always going to be honest with you, but this could be a misdiagnosis, especially on a health level, okay? So my advice would be, first and foremost this week, of course, take very good care of yourself as always. I think how you can take the best of care of yourself will reveal itself to you. Little actions you can take, ways in which you can support a better way of being. But if it is that you get some news, whether it doesn't feel right or whether it's not what you want to hear, there's a very strong chance there that really you need a second opinion or a third opinion for that matter as well. So there is that possibility there. If you can, I would also really advise you, given this cosmic climate this particular week, if you can delay any kind of test that you're doing, right, a health-related test, that would be to your advantage, because the chance of you actually getting a more accurate assessment becomes that much stronger when we move away from this week. Also, given the sky now, we do have Mercury now retrograding in your opposite sign. So this is going to speak to love. This is going to speak to partnerships as well. It speaks to whether it's business partnerships, agents, people that represent you as well. And it does look like there might be a need to, whether it's renegotiate or if you have somebody that you're working with, make sure you're talking to them. You're talking things out. If you're working with somebody who's an agent who's supposed to represent you, make sure that you're really clear on your expectations of each other. This might be a good time to have like a face-to-face meeting and to actually flush some things out, some expectations of each other out a little bit. What I do really like about this, ultimately, it is about having that conversation, returning to that conversation, if you will, and going over what you talked about before, what was agreed upon before. If you are in a romantic connection, now what's interesting is right now, Venus is direct, right? But still in shadow. And now we have Mercury going retro in your opposite sign. So this is also, it's almost like that Venus retrograde is being extended for you and for you specifically. So this can be really like miscommunication. If you make any major decisions now around a relationship, chances are that you might change your mind as well. So just be mindful of that. If you've been with somebody for a while and all of a sudden you just cannot stand this person, if you break up with them during a Mercury retrograde, chances are you won't stay broken up, is all I'm saying. If you are open to meeting somebody new, this can be a really great time to do that as well, but just know the full picture might not be completely obvious to you right away, especially considering the cosmic climate. There's a very strong chance that you are going to see with the eyes of hope, and there's also a chance that for a lot of us, in at least some area of life, we're going to be filling in the gaps instead of questioning, why don't I know this? What's really going on here? And there's just a very strong chance, especially for you, to see all that is perfect and beautiful in someone new that you meet without fully acknowledging or being ready to acknowledge that, hey, this is a human being and they've got stuff. And you might not know it because you're just meeting them just yet. So be open, of course, always be open to love. This is a great time to consider what your expectations are, whether you're with somebody or not. And also, I gotta say, this is also a really good time to connect with and have another look at, another perspective of somebody that you may have been connected to, that you might have dated or might have been interested in before as well. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week, all of us in some way are going to want to see things in rose-colored glasses, or we're going to be seeing things way more pessimistically than we need to be. And where it comes to you and love, this becomes that much more emphasized, especially for you. So in the context of love, and especially if you're dating somebody or you're meeting somebody new right about now, you may not be seeing things accurately. You might be thinking, this is it, and seeing this great, wonderful picture without acknowledging or without really, accepting that people are complex. And the reverse is also true. You might meet somebody right now and completely write them off, and a little bit further down the road have a different, more positive reaction to them as well. So of course, if you are wanting to meet somebody new, be open to love. That's always a good thing. But just know that sometimes the first impression isn't the total information. Also, I gotta say, with this Jupiter standing across Neptune, I think you do want to watch your perception if you have children as well. Either you're going to be seeing your children as little angels and not want to hear that they are human and experimenting with life just like the rest of us, or you might get some news that makes you question your child and might not be accurate as well. So it really could, go either way. It could be that you're seeing absolute best of your kid, but your kid did something that maybe not so great, or it could be that you think your kid did something not so great, but actually is innocent. So allow a little bit of time to pass, allow that conversation to continue, and the actual picture, the fuller picture, will reveal itself as the days go on. What I also really like about this week is that we do have this Mercury retrograde taking place. And this Mercury retrograde for you is happening in a part of the sky that has to do with your habits, particularly your health habits and also the workplace. So this could be a time when somebody who left your workplace now returns, okay, even just for a short project. This could be a time also when you find yourself starting to return to some things that you used to do before as part of experimenting on what's going to make you feel better. This is not necessarily the best of time to try a new regimen, but it is a good time to return to what you've done before for further fortification. If you are in an established bond, so I talked about, if you're meeting somebody new, in an established bond, I mean, look, the big news is Saturn is leaving your opposite sign. It's just going to feel so much easier with this person. It's going to feel easier on a lot of levels. It's going to feel easier in terms of their schedule, in terms of your relating, in terms of your understanding each other as well. And things are just going to start to feel a little bit more calm and a little bit more smooth. Some of the real learning that you've been doing with this person, especially if you've been with them for a long time, since late 2012, having experienced this energy, some of those ups and downs are now going to calm down, and you will find a new equilibrium with the person you love. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week we've got your ruling planet beginning to go retrograde, okay? So whenever this happens, it represents an important time for you, a time of reflection and greater attention to a particular area of life. And for you, that Mercury retrograde is happening in a very romantic part of the sky that has to do with dating. It has to do with getting to know somebody and enjoying their company, and as I like to say, the flutter of love, right? The flutter that love can bring. And so if you are meeting somebody new, right, this is also true for like Aries and Geminis out there this week. With this Mercury retrograde, it's going to speak to love and relationships for both of you. If you break up now, you may not stay broken up. Also very possible right about now that some misinformation comes in. So just try your best to give the benefit of the doubt where you can. Already we've got like sort of a climate this week where there's going to be this these extremes of the very ideal, the very confusing, the very unsure, and also this other space that has to do with seeing things much worse than they actually are, or really like the communication wires being crossed, one person thinking one thing than the other. So you want to strive for really clear communications, give people the benefit of the doubt, and know that whatever decisions you make in the realm of love likely will change as we move forward in the weeks to come. Also this week, we do have this interesting conversation playing out really at a very important axis in your chart. So I talked about this to a certain extent with the monthly horoscopes with the eclipse that's happening right about now. But the fact that Jupiter is speaking with Neptune as well, I would just really advise you to be mindful around issues of, and particularly issues that have to do with real estate, with family, with home-based businesses as well. You really want to watch the water element to this, okay? If you're trying to buy it or sell or move or just sort of make a profit, you've got lots of very positive, encouraging energy to do that. But where it comes to like your living space and where you live, and even if it's a new property you're considering, just be mindful that all the water is well, if you will, okay? And that things are as they appear, that things are very clear and transparent. What I would like to see happen is if you do end up buying or selling or moving or whatever the case may be, that you find yourself going into a space that is exactly as you want it to be. So make sure that that contract says they got to leave that place really, really clean if you're going somewhere new. Make sure that you get, all the pipes and things checked out before it is that you actually sign and make that purchase or make that move as well. But all in all, it is going to be this very space and understanding home that is going to be getting a lot of your energy right now and a lot of potential for gains. It's just about seeing it accurately and understanding where to move and understanding where clarity will help you move forward that much more intelligently. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week we have got an eclipse taking place. Eclipses speak to you more than they may to other signs because the moon is your ruling luminary. So the fact that we've got this particular very important conversation taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with conversation does suggest to me that you are having some very important talks, agreements, meetings, and communicating of ideas as well. But also, I want you to pay attention to brainstorms, actually. And I think that a really great idea, in fact, $1 million idea might just come to you out of nowhere, feel like it's come to you out of nowhere, like just sort of land in your lap, if you will. And so to take advantage of this, of course, is to treat your ideas carefully, to treat your ideas with value as well, because especially now, some clarity could come in, or just some new inspiration, really creative stuff can come through right now that can end up creating a lot of prosperity for you as part of your life. Also, what I like about this eclipse is that it is speaking with Pluto in your opposite sign. And so this does suggest to me that partnerships are going to be an important part of the conversations you're having now. So for some of you, this is going to play out more in a professional sense, more in terms of the people that you're aligning yourself with anyways and how it is that you're connecting with others. For some of you, this is going to be romantic as well, and this could be a very important conversation that leads to significant change that does take place. And so there's an element here of honesty, of transparency, of being really clear with each other about your expectations of each other. And especially if you're in an established bond, that energy becomes that much more magnified. Also really important right around this time, if you are just open to meeting somebody new, this is having that key conversation that allows the proverbial penny to drop, that makes you go, oh, okay, this is why I am where I am in love. This is why I am not where I desire to be in love or what I desire to manifest in love as well. So you're going to have this really interesting sort of, whether you want to call it a conversation, considerations that are going to be playing out for you now that are really going to help you to understand how it is ultimately that you can, it's like understanding on an intellectual level what it is that needs to change on a level of spirit so that you can experience greater closeness with other people, greater love if you have it now or you want it, but also a greater sense of trust that people are good and that there actually are a lot of people out there who have a desire to bless your life. And if you allow that energy in, you are going to find evidence of this very, very quickly. Hello, fabulous Leo. This week, we've got this really interesting conversation playing out between Jupiter and Neptune. And I actually think it is you and your opposite sign, Aquarius, that need to be mindful with this around money. It's really important to be mindful with this around money right about now. So yes, you have this eclipse, and the eclipse is very fabulous, okay? And this does suggest movement forward, which is great, an increase in income, which is great. But with this particular conversation between Jupiter and Neptune, I just feel like you may end up wasting a lot of money. Or just, it's like literally, this is a conversation of money going down the drain. And so you want to be mindful. This may not necessarily be, we've also got Mercury standing still, beginning to go retrograde this week as well. Not the best week to, make large purchases or make any investments, especially take any investment advice. Certainly, if you get any advice right about now of a hot stock, you need to put that advice to the side, especially if it's happening this week, or especially if you're getting that advice this week. Because things can fall into place for you really nicely, especially in terms of the work that you're doing and earning more money. But it is when you start to spend money, and particularly when it is that you are looking at how to grow your money passively, that things can go in different ways. So you just want to see a stronger astrological climate before you're making moves like that. In the context of love this week, I do really like the fact that Mercury is going to be going retrograde. For all of us in some way, this suggests reconnections with people as well and communications with people as well. Now, Mercury is going retrograde in a part of the sky for you that has to do with talking and social media as well to a certain extent. And so it really can be in the online world, text messaging world, that you end up communicating ideas and connecting with other people, but also be mindful that text messages can be interpreted a lot of different ways. And so to the best of your ability, be clear, because I have a feeling there's going to be a text exchange, whether you're flirting, getting to know somebody new, or in an established bond, there's going to be some exchange that takes place that leads you to having a certain reaction when really the intention was the exact opposite. You were interpreting it a whole other way than it needs to be. So strive to be clear, and also know as you are interacting with that text, because really when you read, you are interacting with it, you are making sense of it, you are bringing yourself to it as well. Acknowledge that self that you're bringing. That alone will ensure that much more clearer communications. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week is a big week for you. So I'm going to encourage you to watch last week's horoscope again, because I spent a lot of time talking about the eclipse that's taking place right now. And so that will be a nice little reminder, or the monthly horoscope as well, because I spent a lot of time talking about it. Without a doubt, an important time for you, a time that likely will stand out as you look over the big picture of really your life, if not the year, if not many, many years to come. So it's important because we have this particular eclipse taking place, which really is the dominant energy for you. What we also do have happening this week, though, is your ruling planet, Mercury. So a little more specific, looking at a little bit more detailed stuff here. Your ruling planet, Mercury, is going retro in a part of the sky for you that has to do with earning money, the money you earn. And so given that this is taking place, it does suggest to me that you may be thinking about new ways to make money. And in all honesty, it's a retrograde, okay? So what that means is there might be some financial plans that don't exactly go off the way you had planned. There might be some delays, okay, in getting the type of resources that you had hoped for. Whatever it is, no worries, you can take it and put your worry to the side. When we have this kind of energy, like when there's a lot of energy in a certain part of the chart, particularly when it is in a financial sector of the chart, it means that the money is there. It means that the universe wants you to pay attention here, and therefore the money will be there. But it does mean that depending on what is happening, you have to look at your approach and you have to maximize or at least navigate it intelligently. So a lot of this is going to have to do with money that either you're spending or you're making, and just figuring out all the details around that, looking at what your expectations are versus the reality as well. Possibly some delays as well can take place, but also what's really good about a Mercury retrograde in this part of the sky is that money that you have spent before in some way comes back. Money you were expecting for work you did finally finds you, errors are corrected, and so you will get paid, you will get your money, and it will come together. But really I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to invite you to stay focused on yourself, because it's really easy to get sort of, you know, in that energy of, you know, is there enough money? How am I going to get the money? How should I focus myself? It's really easy to go there, okay, for anybody. But yes, for your sign, because you know how to be all analytical and stuff, it's easy to go there. But I would invite you instead to focus on the fact that you are having this big moment take place for you, big changes, big shift, an important understanding, and a fresh new start. It really is going to be you saying, okay, yes, a whole other pathway. And there's going to be a whole other understanding of your identity and the possibilities that are available for your life as well. Stay focused on that. It's, as I said, easy to get lost in the details, particularly the financial details, when really the answers that you're looking for are much more organic, much more closer to the heart. And ultimately, it is going to be that the financial stuff resolves itself, and rather quickly in the weeks to come. What we also have taking place this week is this opposition happening between Jupiter in your sign, Neptune in your opposite sign. You are one of those signs who's going to feel this. You and Taurians are feeling this energy most in the context of love, okay? This particular opposition, this particular conversation. And this is about checking your expectations in the context of love and relationships as well. If this is around somebody new, again, this is rose-colored glasses, or this could be those glasses majorly coming off, like somebody that you had in some way put on a pedestal or thought of as, you know, especially sweet and wonderful and promising, and you finding out, oh wow, okay, this is a human being. They have a complex self, a complex life, a complex way of going for things, as we all do, right? So there can be some of that tension that does take place as you face what you wanted as opposed to what the reality is, and where it is maybe that you didn't see what the reality was. And so that kind of ends up being on you. Also, in terms of established partnerships, this can play out as well. Where it comes to, if you are in a committed relationship, this can be a real difference of opinion. But, I'm also going to say, and I'm always going to be honest with you, always. I look at this, and this could also, I like the fact that Saturn is changing signs. It sort of balances this energy a little bit for me. But this can, it can speak to not seeing things clearly, whether it's you that is choosing not to see them clearly, or it is another person not wanting you to see things clearly, okay? So it may or may not be intentional, but it might be that if you're partnering with somebody, if you're thinking about partnering with somebody, either for business or romantically as well, again, it might not be intentional, but there's that possibility it might be as well. So as you're meeting people and you're being open to love, which is awesome, and as you're having this eclipse and you're going through these changes, keep it about you. Keep it about what's happening on a level of heart. Because right now, it's sort of a very unpredictable factor as to what's really going on with someone that you're interested in a partnership, love or otherwise, or your actual partner, business or love. Your partner might be going through some stuff. So allow them to have that space, allow them to have their process, and stay connected to your truth. Try not to make too many moves going forward, too many like really consequential decisions with another person. Certainly not, Mercury is stationary going retro this week. Not a good time to sign contracts, but a really good time to go over what was and to consider matters a little bit more closer to heart, especially where it comes to having this particular Mercury retrograde in a part of the sky, in addition to finances, also has to do with the value you place on yourself. It's a good time to look at that and how that has determined the prosperity that you're experiencing or the greater prosperity that you'd like to experience. So refining that, changing that a little bit so that your reality can start to match the prosperity that you know you deserve. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week, Mercury in your sign begins to go retrograde. When Mercury goes retro in your own sign, it tends to be a time of examination of identity. It's about looking at who you are, like who you really are, and understanding that on a much deeper level. And it becomes about you having an intellectual appreciation of just where it is that you desire to go next, or rather, who it is that you desire to be next. This becomes a time when you start looking at ways in which you've identified, in some cases very closely, and start to consider that maybe you're not that person anymore. Maybe you want to do things a little bit differently. Maybe you want to start taking a different approach to things as well. Or when you look at yourself, you're not seeing the same person that you used to. Now, this could be for better, and it could be not for better as well. If you've sort of found yourself in a place where you're saying to yourself, like, this is not me. How did I end up at this life? How did I end up here? This is a good time to look at why. This is a good time to search your heart and to be honest with yourself. And the fact that we have this eclipse happening in a part of the sky for you that has to do with really consciousness, really the subconscious sort of like arising and making itself known, so that you look at what it is within you that has motivated, sometimes without your conscious awareness, but what is it ultimately that's been motivating a lot of your choices? Where is it that you have been motivated by choices that are contrary to your stated desires and your stated intentions? Because sometimes we don't always realize it, but sometimes we can very much work against ourselves. And when we have those moments of realization, they really should be cherished, because it means that something is coming together, okay? It means that something is happening that is going to allow you to have and to move in a direction that truly feels integral and feels right for you as well. I absolutely love this week because of the eclipse that's taking place, but particularly for you, because you're talking it out, even if sometimes you're going to be talking to yourself. I gotta say, Mercury retrograde in your sign, you might be talking to air at times. But it really is about clarifying something within you, so that you know that you're getting ready for bigger and better coming up a little bit further down the road. Particularly, I do want you to watch next month. A month from now, there's going to be a new moon in your sign, and that really is going to be the fresh new beginning. But the groundwork is being laid right now in this moment with this week. This is where the groundwork gets laid, so that you can really be ready for the bright new beginnings and the new chances and the new opportunities and the new launches that are coming up for you just 1 month, literally 28 and a half days down the road. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have got an eclipse taking place. This really is the big, big news throughout the sky and throughout the zodiac for all of us. For you, this has to do with friendships and what's happening on a level of friends, and friends coming out of nowhere, offering you fresh starts and fresh possibilities. This is really good, okay? But I do want to say that with this opposition playing out between Jupiter and Neptune, I look at this and it does suggest that at least one friend, I mean, either you are not seeing the situation clearly or they are not. You know, this conversation can sometimes speak to people not being totally forthright with each other, and especially considering that this is taking place in parts of the sky where you are interacting with others. This is something that you're going to want to watch, okay? So listen to your intuition. Really, Scorpios, that intuition is on high all the time. And so if you allow yourself to pay a little bit of attention, I think it'll become clear to you. Yeah, okay, who is being completely forthright? Who is not able to, right? Who's kidding themselves? Because that is most likely the case. It does look like the greatest chance is it's not that someone's trying to not be honest with you, but that they're not being honest with themselves and they're kidding themselves. And so it's up to you to decide, are you going to be that voice that tries to set them straight, you know, quote unquote, or not? If you do, you will either it will go amazingly well or it will amazingly not go well. But either way, it is going to allow you to feel whatever it is that you decide to do. It looks like, depending on your own approach, you're making a decision that feels right to you. And that's ultimately what really matters, that you have that level of sensitivity to decide what choice you can make that ultimately is going to allow you to feel good about yourself, strong about yourself, or not. Okay? In the context of love this week, look, we have Neptune in a part of the sky for you that's very romantic, and it is Jupiter that is standing across from that Neptune. So kind of emphasizing that energy, if you will. So you are one of those signs, along with Taurians, and along with the Pisceans and the Virgos out there. So these axes, these sort of spectrums are the ones that are most likely to experience this particular energy in a romantic context. If you are with somebody, they may not be telling you the whole truth, and you'll know it. They may not be able to be honest with themselves, and that's okay. If you are meeting new people as well, you may be filling in a lot of gaps, so you just want to be mindful of that. What is particularly unique to you that is happening this week, and it actually makes me very happy to say, Saturn is leaving your sign. So Saturn will officially leave your sign, not to return for well over 2 decades. And this is going to be your exhale. This is going to be a shift in energy. Those of you born right at the very end of your sign, so sort of in the very last days of your sign, would be feeling this shift most. You'll feel this move of Saturn finally leaving your sign most. But all Scorpios are going to feel better. All of a sudden, you'll feel a little lighter, that you can breathe a little easier. You'll feel like there's a little bit more clarity taking place for you as well. Life will be a little bit less of a serious place. Now, I have known and interacted with some people out there who have loved Saturn in Scorpio. A lot depends on how that Saturn was speaking in your natal chart. But I do know that a lot of Scorpios were reaching out and saying, this is really tough. Having Scorpio in this very late, the last little part at the very end of the sign of Scorpio over the course of the summer was tough. And in your case, having this shift simultaneously with the eclipse does suggest a very dramatic and notable shift of energy to you. And literally in a snap of a finger, a lot becomes very clear about who you are and what direction it is that you're meant to go in next. But mostly, it's almost as if any kind of self-criticism, any kind of sense of duty, of obligation that didn't really originate from you, that wasn't rooted in an understanding that you ultimately are responsible for your own happiness, anything like that, you get that clarity you need to finally let that go. And that alone can shift your energy so dramatically that you start to see opportunities much more clearly, and you start to enjoy the company of others and allow yourself to receive love that much more easily as well. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week we have got Saturn entering your sign. So that's a pretty big deal. We've also got an eclipse happening at a very key position in your chart, sort of right at the very top of your sky, if you will, a part of the sky that has to do with legacy and life purpose, and on a very literal level, career. So I spoke about this in the monthly horoscope. I would encourage you to watch that again. But it does look like, as I look at the sky for you, it's almost as if a part of you, yes, in a way, gets serious. A part of you is starting to understand that time is finite and you want to use it well. You want to use it in a way where you actually manifest something that matters to you, because it is ultimately manifestation. And I think of Saturn really as honoring the physical realm as a spiritual space as well, because it's very easy to get sort of caught up in a different energy. Okay, your ruler is Jupiter. And your ruler is speaking with Neptune this week. So it is really easy to get caught up in an energy that says, oh, reality is an illusion. None of this really matters. Everything that really matters is about what's happening on a level of energy, on a level of spirit. It's easy to do that. However, there's a lot to be gained by understanding that we are incarnated for a reason, and that there are valuable spiritual lessons to be gained by honoring the physical realm and actually working with it to manifest something that matters to you. Like actually owning it, you know, not saying to yourself that, oh, this doesn't matter, as a way of not even trying. So this is you starting to get honest with yourself, saying to yourself, okay, I'm gonna at least try for something. And what that thing is going to become very clear to you in an instant. Now keep in mind, yes, it's an eclipse. Yes, things can happen very quickly, very dramatically. Progress can be made. But at the same time, keep in mind also that this is Saturn moving into your sign. So it's about a process beginning. That process will last you right to the end of 2017, but slowly but surely you are going to start working on something, building something that at several key points coming up, you'll be able to look at with a great amount of pride and a great amount of gratitude at that as well. Where it comes to love this week, that opposition is playing out. Yes, that might play out for you romantically. Yes. But I think that it's only those of you who share a home with somebody and share that space on like a very daily level, have them in your space. Those are the ones who are going to feel that energy more in the context of romance. I actually think that this week, with the Mercury retrograde taking place, Mercury being the ruler of your opposite sign, that is really going to be the dominant energy that is experienced in love. And what that means is talking it out. That's really what it comes down to. Having social experiences, spending more time outdoors with other people as well, and having more conversation, whether you are wanting to meet new people. This could be you looking at a friend differently right about now, whether it is that you want and to meet other people, and it's through friendships that you get introduced to people, whether you're in an established bond, and especially if you're in an established bond, this is really about renewing that sense of connection that you have with this person on a mind level, experiencing them as your friend, as a companion as well, and recognizing the value that that connection actually brings, that it doesn't just all have to be about what's happening on a level of passion, on a level of spirit, but that actually being able to feel heard and to listen to another is a great way to demonstrate how much you actually love that person. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have got your ruling planet changing signs. That's a big deal. When your ruling planet changing signs, and it does very rarely, every 2.5 years or so, you got a little taste of this in the first part of the year. So think about what was happening the first 5.5 months of the year. It is that energy that you are now going to step into that much more fully and that much more thoroughly as well. There is a lot to be said now for you really coming to an understanding that there are going to be motivations playing out for you right about now that you may not necessarily be able to put your finger on, may not necessarily be able to say, okay, yes, I know why this is happening. I know what is happening. I know why I'm motivated. You might not be able to have that. What is most likely is that you're going to feel driven towards certain people, places, things, situations, achievements as well. And ultimately, it is about you trusting that impetus, but also striving to be clear with yourself as to what part of you is being motivated towards certain people, places, things, situations, and also certain goals as well. And as part of this, being motivated towards people, this can be really notorious for identifying closely with people who ultimately in some way are not good for us or in some way are not available to us. So just be mindful of that, okay? It doesn't need to play itself out in that way. But just be mindful when you find yourself attracting all these different types of people, ultimately, what is it that you are going for? And especially in the context of love as well. I also think with this really lovely fellow Earth sign eclipse taking place, there's some really wonderful changes to vision set to take place. Also, this can be a really great time to connect with somebody if you're open to meeting somebody new. Great time to connect with somebody who maybe doesn't live in the same city or in some way represents the exotic or an adventure that you're ready to take on. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week's eclipse taking place in a very financial part of the sky for you does suggest money coming in, money coming through, and just generally feeling like you are well provided for by a very loving universe. So I explored that a lot more thoroughly in the monthly horoscope. I would invite you to watch that again for a little bit more information on the energy that you're now welcoming into your life. What I also though find interesting this week, you along with your opposite sign are experiencing this Jupiter and Neptune opposition in very financial parts of the sky. And this can be, and for you in particular, what you really want to watch is spending money over something that really doesn't matter. And that's really what it comes down to. You've already got Mercury retrograde, and your ruling planet is Uranus, which is considered the higher octave of Mercury. So given that, there is this affinity that you have with the planet Mercury. When Mercury does go retrograde, of all the signs out there, who is most likely to make a choice during a Mercury retrograde and then change your mind once Mercury goes direct, you are right up there at the top of that list. So be mindful of that. You've got this Mercury retrograde playing out, choices that you make now, money that you end up spending now, in some way, you might end up feeling like, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I spending this money? And it also could be, I'll be really honest with you, it also could be like there's some not honest stuff playing out there. That's what happens sometimes with these planets. I think you'll be able to catch it. I think you'll be particular sharp because your ancient ruling planet is moving into a harmonious position for you, moving into a new sign. And your ancient ruling planet, Saturn, is moving into a part of the sky that is considered your house. Okay, so this is your house in the sky. And given that this shift is taking place, I think that there's, on the one hand, there's an urge on your part to play it conservative. And on the other hand, there's going to be another urge on your part to trust and to let the money flow, let the drinks flow, enjoy your life. You can have both, okay? You can find a way to have both. What can really end up grounding this energy very much to your advantage so that it doesn't end up feeling like you and your opposite sign feeling like you're pouring money where ultimately you're not going to get any return. You can calm that energy down a lot by, instead of thinking about sort of spending, right? Think more about what is it ultimately that you can do in a very inspired kind of way. What is it that you actually can do that ultimately is going to allow you to create greater accumulative wealth over a period of time? So you are going to have some really great ideas, and you shouldn't have to bet the farm to implement them. And the ideas that do come along now, especially the financial ideas, they have a sense of longevity to them. They have a sense of being impactful, not only for you financially, but also in terms of the larger successes that you're set to have for your life as well. Now, this is given how it is that this particular eclipse is speaking with other power players in the sky. And so keep your focus on that, and you will find that that part of you that just wants to spend will calm down a little bit, enough so that at least you're spending intelligently. And remember, the number one thing when you're buying this week, or making money this week as well, Mercury retrograde, you will change your mind. You will change your mind. So trust the process. Use this energy instead for spiritual clarity. Use this energy instead to think about ways in which to make money that allow you to feel that you are connected to something greater than yourself, or you're working in alignment with something greater than yourself. You're working towards a higher purpose, or with a higher purpose, with that clear intention that where it is that you are giving your energy is ultimately an area that you want to not only emphasize, but something that is truly meaningful to you. If you do that, then all that other unpredictable energy calms the right down, okay? Be mindful also of any kind of like deals too good to be true this week, especially, because there might be some things there that you're not, I mean, you might buy a lemon, is what I'm saying. Where it comes to love this week, in the context of love, the ruling planet of the part of the sky for you that has to do with romance is Mercury. And so whereas for Sages, Mercury rules what has to do with partnership, so they're feeling this Mercury retrograde more in the context of committed relationships. For you, it has more to do with fun. It has more to do with connecting with people in a light kind of way. So if you are not with somebody, or you're just dating somebody, right? You're getting to know them, then you're going to feel this energy more, and this energy is going to be more significant for you than if you are necessarily in an established bond. And so if that's the case, just know that this is more of a time of considering your options. This is more of a time of considering values. Does this person match your values or not? And I think you may actually surprise yourself by finding yourself very drawn to and very willing and very attracted to somebody where maybe before you said, well, no, it has to be somebody who is exactly this particular culture, this particular faith, or this particular way. You might find yourself being very drawn to somebody very different than what what your sort of ultimatums or what your bottom lines were before. But that's part of the adventure. That's part of the experimentation as well. Those of you in an established bond, it really is going to be much more about the eclipse. And it's very possible that your partner is going to be the one to help facilitate greater prosperity for you in some significant way this week. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week, really, two very dominant things that are playing out for you specifically, and that has to do with, number one, this opposition, Neptune and Jupiter, your modern ruling planet, your ancient ruling planet in your opposite sign, your modern ruling planet in your sign. And just like it sounds, it is like you are feeling at opposites with your old self and your new self. You are feeling at opposites with who it is that maybe you think you should be or you always thought you were, and who it is that you now are becoming, or a more idealized version of yourself. You will feel a disconnect of some sort, and it might actually play out in your relationships, and it might actually be something that you end up projecting onto another person. So what I mean by that is, if you could think of yourself as, let's say you think of yourself as, very responsible and very motivated, right? Very ambitious, very driven. And you may be all those things, but it might be that you are actually directing that energy a certain way so that you don't actually have to take a chance on what it is that you ultimately really want. And there's also this idea of what it is that you are demonstrating to yourself about who you are and the people you're attracting as a result. That is also going to be part of this. So it may be that you will find yourself, again, saying that, yes, I'm all these wonderful things, but then you have these other little things that you do that you know are not who you want to be. And it can be anything from a bad habit personally, or maybe, a certain way that you interact with somebody that you know, that you're harsh on them, and you're harsh on them, but you feel justified. Like, these are the types of situations that may be playing out. Now, your sign is also one of those. I don't think it's as likely for you, but yours is also one of those signs, along with your opposite sign and along with the Taurus-Scorpio axis as well, that may manifest this energy in terms of relationships and in terms of dishonesty, intentional or not, okay? I actually think, given that you're the one holding Neptune, the chance of things not being so clear, I mean, really, it's likely to be you. So it's likely to be that you are in some way kidding yourself, or you are not wanting to see something that is staring you in the face. Now, the eclipse is there. So the eclipse tells me that what is happening with other people is good, that there is support there, there is love there as well. Whether you are in an established bond or open to meeting somebody new, there is love available to you. You are learning a lot, and there's some positive changes set to take place. So strive to ground yourself in reality. It's always a good idea. Ground yourself in reality, and you will find that the love that you're attracting and the insights you're having into partnership right now allow you to experience a love that not only is genuine, but also a lot more rewarding than you've known before. I will stop there. Thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.